Hey guys, this video I'm going to be reviewing She-Hulk Attorney at Law 1011. I think it's 101. I don't know what we're calling it. Season 1, Episode 1. Titled A Normal Amount of Rage. If you guys enjoyed the review, hit the like button down below, subscribe for new. Notification sounds great to review. So, it's just not going to be an ordinary review. I'm just going to be giving my thoughts in episode, not really going through every single scene like I generally do in reviews. This is what this video will be. Just me talking about the episode, and I'm going to be doing it for the other 5. I think there's 6 total. So yeah, 102, 103, 4, 5, and 6. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm not doing promo breakdowns or trailer breakdowns for the show, because I already have content filled up for the week as is, so, you know, not doing that. But, I do plan on doing these reviews. More than likely, they will be up Friday night. The first one's up Thursday night because the first episode came out obviously today. By the time you guys are seeing this, hopefully, so that's why I'm doing this now. But in the future, they will more than likely be up Friday nights alongside some other MCU shows like Miss Marvel when I get to it, which I plan on doing because I really want to watch that show. So I plan on doing reviews over it. Again, similar to this video, so yeah, just so you guys know that. But let's get into the review. So, I really liked the first episode, which generally I don't like a first episode, because it feels like a pilot, which this was obviously a pilot of sorts, but there were other things to back it up that really didn't make it feel like a pilot. And again, I haven't watched the other MCU shows like fully through. I watched fucking Winter Soldier, like 90% of it, because I saw clips online. I didn't have Disney Plus then. WandaVision I never really cared for. Loki never really cared for. I saw clips in that. Miss Marvel, I didn't really see really any of it. Not because I wasn't interested, but I just figured one day I get Disney Plus, I'd be able to watch it. That day happened. Where I'm actually focusing on the MCU shows now. So that's why I'm doing all this, but nonetheless, this being the first MCU show that I'm actually legitimately watching fully through, and it acting like a pilot, it didn't really feel like one. We got the She-Hulk origins on how Jennifer Walters turned into She-Hulk right away, which was surprising, because I thought for sure it would be dragged out. But it wasn't exactly what I thought of the comics, but it happened through a blood transfusion with a car crash that Jen was driving with Bruce in the car. We learned that he was able to go from Hulk to Bruce with a gauntlet that he had on, that he developed as a prototype. That was very cool to learn. I'm glad we finally are seeing both sides and not just Smart Hulk 24/7. I'm glad we're seeing Bruce showing up every now and then. I hope we get that more. The show, assuming he shows up more throughout the show. I don't know. I would assume he would, but, it'd be nice to see more of Bruce Banner. I love seeing Hulk this episode, don't get me wrong, but it'd be cool to see more of just Bruce Banner. More than Smart Hulk or Hulk, it'd be nice to see Bruce Banner more in the show, especially in the movies as well. But anyways, the blood transfusion was the car crash. They flew off from a car ship, flying at him. They drove out the road and down a cliff, and Bruce is bleeding, which is dangerous because he has gamma radiation on him. But because Jen and Bruce are cousins, which meaning they're related, at least by blood, the blood didn't, heavily affect Jen in a bad way, unless you count being a Hulk bad, which you could argue. But it didn't kill her. If it was just some random person, it probably would. But because they're blood related, it was okay for Jen to not die. But now she's a Hulk. And it dove right into that. It also brought up Steve Rogers being a virgin, which is hilarious. Which I'll talk about more later. Because that was just hilarious. But that was before the car crash, and it got brought up sometimes throughout the episode. But the humor, just in Jennifer Walters, was hilarious. Jen is whoever plays her, I don't know the actress's name, sue me, but she's just hilarious. And I'm assuming a lot of it was improv. I can't imagine all this was scripted. Like, you can't tell me that. The fourth wall break that Deadpool always does, that She-Hulk's been known for in the comics, literally kickstarted the episode, pretty much. At least it looked like, but she was actually talking to people, but it looked like a fourth dimensional wall. And then she actually broke it, leaning into the origin story. She broke it for the first time later in that origin story, working with Hulk, Smart Hulk, and then broke it later in the episode as well. So I'm glad we're getting these fourth-dimensional breaks. This is one thing I love about Deadpool. I think it's what makes it so funny, is the fourth-dimensional breaks, alongside the other, crazy things that he does and says, and he doesn't care if it offends someone. But with She-Hulk, like, we're getting a character that is like the Hulk, but is humor and funny as hell. Like, we're getting that kind of character. Don't get me wrong, I love Hulk, and most of the scenes that we get with Hulk is funny, right? It's ironic, it's, hilarious. But I think they're shining a bright light on this show that we have two Hulk people. They're being, there's sarcastic scenes, ironic scenes, funny, hilarious scenes. I think that's what I've personally been wanting from Marvel in a while. I'm glad we're getting it finally. But nonetheless, Hulk is living on an island in a house that Tony and him made, or at least mainly Tony with the basement. Because Tony would go there to the bar that Hulk made, which how the hell he made that, I don't know, but he did. And they would talk during the Civil War era when Steve and Tony weren't talking that much. I don't think that's actually set up throughout the Avengers film. I do remember in Infinity War, it was brought up that Bruce didn't know because he was in space, if you remember. So I'm curious where that all fits in. Like, was it between Infinity War and Endgame? Because during that 5 years, like, was that what happened? Like, they just made that bar, they talked all the time? Because that base was made during that 5-year blip. So I would assume so. But the way it was worded made it seem like it was during the Civil War movie, like Captain America Civil War, following that movie, which is before Infinity War. But we also know that Bruce wasn't even around until Infinity War. Like, before Captain America Civil War, he disappeared because he was in space, and then he reappeared in Infinity War. He had no idea what's going on with Steve and Tony. So, again, it could have been worded better, I think, but it was still a good scene. I'm glad we got like 3 Tony mentions, I think, which I really love. I don't know how many Tony mentions there's been on shows, but I really do love that we're getting Tony mentions. I know Loki had one, I think. And I think Falcon and Winter Soldier did too. But I'm very glad we're getting these Tony mentions, especially with Bruce. I think that's a thing that should be happening. Considering the fact that Bruce and Tony were close, especially in the early Avengers films. They always had a friendship, but they also had like a bond because they're both scientists. I think it's very good that we're getting that Tony mentions, especially from Bruce, like I said already. And knowing that Tony was helping Bruce becoming Smart Hulk and controlling Hulk instead of just being an outraged monster. I'm glad that Tony was connected to that, and I really hope we get more in the future. But it was really cool to see and really nice. Honorable mention to Tony. We had a fight scene between She-Hulk and Hulk. It was hilarious with the thunderclaps and She-Hulk doing like 10, just non-stop thunderclapping. It was hilarious. Just this show, the first episode at least, just seems like a new, fresh thing compared to the DC shows, which they try to be funny. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. With this show, it really does bring a new vibe, I think, to me, as a viewer who's watched only DC shows, never really Marvel shows. So for me, coming into the Marvel shows, or this being my first ever Marvel show I'm actually watching fully through, I'm very impressed with it, to say the least, with the first episode at least. And also knowing that at first Jen didn't want to be a Hulk, and because she had so much, going on in her life with being a lawyer, her life finally kicking up, and then going back to present day where she is a lawyer, and also not afraid to be the Hulk or She-Hulk, you know what I mean? Which I believe will be shown more in 102 or 1-2, whatever the hell we're calling it. Season 1, episode 2. But the Arrowverse shows, it was always 102 or 908 or 807 or whatever. Like, there would be that O there, unless it, hit 110 or 210, right? Then we'd say that. But, yeah. I don't know if we're just going to say 1-1, 1-2, 1-3. I'll probably just say season 1, episode 3 or something, but... Which, by the way, I do hope we get, several seasons of these shows and not just, one season, that's it. I think, didn't Loki get season 2? I'm pretty sure he did. I think it was announced during San Diego Comic-Con, but... Nonetheless, I do wish that we got more seasons of these shows sooner rather than later. That being said, She-Hulk isn't even done yet. So, we're not going to get it anytime soon. But it would be nice to have that in the bag to know that we'll come back for season 2 later down the line. Because this is, a really, really good start to a show. And I was kind of worried about it because there was some talk about CGI and, all that. But I really did love this episode. Just seeing Jen doing everything she did this episode. And I was genuinely surprised, like I said already, at the fact that we jumped right into Jen becoming She-Hulk. I was legitimately surprised. I thought we'd wait till 102, 103 to get to that point. Or at least, really deep and in the first episode. I was never expecting it to just be like that. Yeah, we opened up with Jen being a lawyer, seeing a little bit of her life. But it was really good that we jumped right into She-Hulk becoming Hulk. Or, sorry, Jen becoming She-Hulk. That was worded wrong. I think that was very well done by the writers of the show, the producers of the show. I think the CGI looked amazing for She-Hulk and Hulk, obviously, which it should be, especially for Hulk. There were some moments that if you were to nitpick it, you could be like, but that's what I say for the Arrowverse shows, too. You nitpick it, you're gonna know it's crap. So you can't nitpick shows, or even movies, really. Even though it is Marvel... And we should expect good CGI and not crappy ones. Because aren't they on a movie budget? I'm pretty sure they are. I don't know. But even if they are, the CGI, we're still getting the show. You can't expect CGI to be perfect 24/7, right? The people behind this have a due date to be done. And it's not whether they're working hard, because I'm assuming they are, but they have to do on a day-to-day basis to give it that good quality like Superman and Lois does, but they can't just take a month off to prepare for that. They have to get these episodes out now, and not later, skip a month, come back for 2 weeks, skip a month, come back for another 2. They can't do that with this. So I don't know how long they've been preparing this for, but I think several months, obviously. So they had time to make it better than the first trailer we got, which CGI was alright. It wasn't the best, but it's only improvement from the trailer and the show, which I think a major group of people in this community, or at least in the Marvel community, I mean not my community, the Marvel community, wanted to see, because the CGI for most people didn't look good. I hope for those people it did look good. From what I've heard, it has looked good for them. So I'm glad that they improved CGI for them. I didn't really notice it, but then again, I'm not nitpicking, and I'm not, I'm just enjoying what I'm seeing. That's what I'm doing, which, I think everyone should be doing for these shows, because it is important that we do that. Seeing Hulk being jealous was hilarious, when Hulk was, showing Jen how to be a Hulk, with the boulders, and then Hulk just throwing a boulder out of the atmosphere was hilarious. Hulk's arm healing, I forgot to mention that earlier. Thanks to Jen and that really funny line with Jen assuming that she's better than Hulk. Due to that, it was hilarious. There's a lot of things that they can do with She-Hulk just in a film alone, like in the next Avengers film, if she will be a part of it, which I'm assuming she would. It'd be really interesting to see her interact with the other new Avengers, like Spider-Man or Ironheart or whoever will be on that team. It'd be really, truly amazing to see them interact with just everyone, or She-Hulk interact with everyone. It'd be so hilarious. But yeah, this episode was amazing. Like I said, there weren't even any problems with it. I know some people probably did. There was a scene in the courthouse at the end of the episode that I saw a lot of people talking about with the girl that came in, broke through, and then Jen turned to She-Hulk to fight her. That scene was a little bit weird. I think for a lot of people it was weird. It looked cool, kinda. I mean, it was a cool scene. The setup was great, right? But when the girl was like flying with her legs out towards Jen or She-Hulk, and it was just a weird scene because you could tell there were wires there. Like, you couldn't like legitimately see them, but you know there were wires there, and you shouldn't like be like that when you're watching that. Like, on some level, like, you shouldn't like really see the wires or be able to tell there's a wire, which is why I think Marvel does things so well. But with that, like, that's really the only thing that if I had to nitpick, that's the only thing I would complain about, is that one scene where she was flying in the air about to kick She-Hulk. That was the one scene that set me off, and I was like, that could have been done a lot better. But nonetheless, everything was great in this episode. There wasn't, again, anything I really didn't like besides that one scene. But that was one scene compared to like 30, right? It was a 38-minute long episode. And now it seems like, what, 20 seconds? I mean, who cares, right? The rest of the 38-minute and freaking, 40-second long episode, it was amazing nonetheless. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below your opinions of the episode. If you even watched it, because some of you might not even watch it yet. But if you have watched it, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. Thanks for watching the video. Have a good day. Have a good night. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.